I'm Stephanie Moore with Unity Point Health, and I'm joined here with Dr. Andrew Nish, a common expert on our panel here. And we're going to talk about a topic that has been in the news a lot, and that's intermittent fasting. I think I said that right. First, what is it if someone doesn't know what it is?
Yeah, this is a hot topic. There's lots of misconceptions. Unfortunately, there's not lots of science, at least human-based studies. But what intermittent fasting is, it's defined as going for periods of time without any caloric intake. And that can be time-based intermittent fasting, where you eat in the evening and you don't eat again the next day. It can be alternate day fasting. It can be multiple day fasting. So intermittent fasting has a wide range of applications. And the problem with the literature is it's so heterogeneous, meaning some studies are alternate day fasting, some studies are 36-hour fasting, some studies are 4-day fasting, other studies are time fasting. So it can be a bit confusing for the average person. And frankly, it's, in the scientific community, it's still, somewhat not well studied, at least in human populations.
If someone's thinking they maybe want to try this, is there a good way to ease into it and some rules you should follow?
Yeah, so I've studied intermittent fasting, and I frankly am a faster, but I do time-based fasting. And so when I look at the literature, when I look at human studies, what I look at is what do we know and what don't we know? So what we do know is that for hundreds, if not thousands of years, people went 12 to 14 hours between meals. Well, in our country, we've been socialized to eat 3 meals a day and then snacks in between. And that's just not metabolically good for our bodies. We continue to eat, we continue to have elevated glucose, we continue to have elevated insulin, we continue to rely on glucose as our only fuel, when we should really begin to rely on what we call beta oxidation of fats, fat for fuel. And the only way to do that is to go long periods of time without eating. So for me, the easiest way to implement an intermittent fasting routine is to do what's called time-based fasting. So you eat your last meal in the evening, preferably before 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and then don't eat again for at least 13 or 14 hours. That way, most of your fasting is when you're asleep. So that has great advantages for your mood and your ability to tolerate it, but it also has advantages physiologically, which is complicated and probably won't get into today. But that's, to me, the easiest way. There is some literature that shows that that has a significant cardiometabolic effect, meaning it lowers our insulin levels, it lowers our glucose levels, it improves our cardiometabolic profile with things like blood fats. There was a study done looking at breast cancer survivors, and it was a 7-year study. They looked at women who survived breast cancer. They looked at a group of women who fasted more than 13 hours between the last meal and the first meal, and they looked at women who fasted less than 13 hours, and those women who fasted more than 13 hours had a significant decrease in their recurrence of cancer. So there are some metabolic effects that are very well documented, particularly in the animal literature, that can be done with just time-based intermittent fasting.
During the time when you're waiting to eat that first meal in the morning, is coffee, tea, water okay, or what would you recommend? So,
most fasting is, quote, water-based fasting, but any non-caloric drink is okay. So I'm okay with a little tea, a little coffee. There's debate about that amongst scientists, but as long as you're not adding any calories, cream, creamer, sugar, anything, it's okay.
Are there any foods that you should strive to eat or you should avoid to eat? I mean, you shouldn't be going through the fast food line during your 8 hours that you should be eating, correct?
So when we talk about intermittent fasting, it is part of an overall adoption of a healthy lifestyle. It's not in and of itself something that's going to change your life dramatically. So if you want intermittent fasting to work, you also have to adopt healthy eating patterns. And that means get rid of all sugar. We've been through that before.
There we go again.
Yeah, no, it really means adopting that healthy lifestyle of eating lots of fruits and vegetables, getting rid of the starchy processed carbohydrates and fats, exercising. Intermittent fasting works best when it's coupled with daily exercise. Understanding stress management. Intermittent fasting may work best when we manage stress in healthful ways. Meditation, yoga, mind-based practices. So this is not in and of itself something that's going to change your life, but it's part of a healthy lifestyle. And it's sort of like with supplements. You can't supplement your way out of a bad diet and lifestyle. Well, you can't fast your way out of a bad diet. So if you think you're going to fast for 14 hours and then go eat McDonald's and see a positive effect, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, good advice. And we kind of talked about it. It's a lifestyle versus a diet. Do you think that's just part of our culture too, that we think there's always a quick fix? We think we need 6 meals. I'm sure you could talk about this for a while.
Oh, we love the word diet in our country. And I hate the word diet because diet connotates something that seems a little crazy and that's not sustainable over a lifetime. So when I talk about fasting, when I talk about healthy eating, this is a behavioral change. It's not a diet, it's not a fad, it's something that you're going to change your behavior for your entire life. And so everybody's going to be different, and everybody's going to adopt different behaviors that they can. And that's always been the controversy in the sort of the fasting literature. If we do every other day, full day fast, how many people are going to be able to do that over a lifetime? Very few in this country. So we want to make it practical and adaptable that people can incorporate into their daily routine. And that's why I think time-based fasting overnight is the easiest, simplest way to do that.
Is there any other benefits to your overall health? I know you mentioned breast cancer survivors seeing better rates, but what about someone who is generally healthy? What are some benefits they will see?
So if we look at, we're going to have to go back to animal-based literature on this, and most of the literature for intermittent fasting is done with male rodent models, believe it or not. And what we see in rodents is when we incorporate intermittent fasting into their routine, they lose body weight, they lose fat, they improve their metabolic profile, so their insulin levels go down, their glucose levels go down. Some of their cardiometabolic markers, such as triglycerides and cholesterol, go down. What we see is we see an improvement in cognitive function. So this can be really important for brain health. So we know that we can improve cognitive function. And when you look at, in rodent models, what's the best thing you can do to improve longevity? It's calorie reduction. And so intermittent fasting can be an extraordinary part of health. And intermittent fasting has been practiced for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, Plato practiced intermittent fasting because he felt he could think better and write better after fasting. So there are great health advantages, at least we think, based on rodent models and early preliminary human data.
I know you said we should stop after our last meal for dinner. Is there a way to ease into it, like see how long you can make it in the morning and then try to keep moving that back, or how should someone start?
Yeah, it depends on your lifestyle. So if you're a late night eater, then it may be a little more difficult. What I would do is say, okay, can I eat an hour earlier? If you're a breakfast eater, and we've all been conditioned, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, that's silliness. For some people, it might be an important meal. For others, they can go till noon and not have any metabolic or mood consequences whatsoever. So what I would do is look at your own personal ways that you can do it. I can eat an hour earlier. I can go an hour later for breakfast. So instead of having an 8-hour window between meals, all of a sudden you've gone to 10. Oh, I feel good. Maybe you can extend it a little more. So you have to experiment with it.
What have you seen as your results personally? You said you are a faster.
I do. I try and go at least 12 to 14 hours between meals, and then on Fridays I go at least 18 to 20 hours. And what I have noticed is I actually have great energy. I never feel washed out or, tired or anything. I haven't checked my blood work in years. It's not that important, actually. My weight is stable. I've never, I eat whatever I want, never gain weight. And so I've just noted, a better vitality. And frankly, my thinking is clearer.
Perfect. Is there anything else you'd add about fasting before we wrap this up?
Again, I want to stress that we're just beginning to learn about the importance of fasting. There's lots of stuff on the internet. If you do an internet search, there'll be thousands and thousands of, quote, opinions on the internet. I think it's preliminary to say one method is better than the other. But what I would say is do what's practical, get at least 12 hours between the last meal of the day and the first meal the next day, and you will realize probably the vast majority of benefits by just doing that.